What I've talked about in my other videos is that no one wants your stuff. And I know I've said this kind of like in flip responses, but it's really true. No one really does want your stuff. And it's very sad. It's very sad for people who are older people who have their parents and their grandparents' furniture and silver and china. But the young people nowadays, they don't want it. They're looking to be minimalistic. They're looking to be, sleek and svelte. And so they don't want antiques. They're just not looking for it right now. Will that change at some point? It might. So when I say no one wants your stuff, I want you to take it in a nice, kind, loving way. Not that your stuff is not good. With getting rid of your stuff, I want you to really think about the emotional attachment you have to it. Are they memories? Are they something important to you? Was it something expensive that you bought? What are the reasons that you're holding on to this stuff? And I'm a very firm believer in thinking that once you start to expose and analyze and get it out about the real reasons that you're doing something, it makes it easier to deal with. So I really want you to think about this. What are the reasons that you are not getting rid of your stuff? Put a label on it. Be honest with yourself. Tell your spouse, tell your children, I'm having a really hard time getting rid of my stuff because of whatever it is for you, and just own it and say it is what it is. Because once you address that, it's going to be easier to get rid of your stuff. Throughout the video, I'm also going to give you some resources that I think are good ones. And this book is probably one of the most significant cleaning, decluttering books that is out there. It's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Maria Kondo. Now, many of you have probably already read this. You've probably already seen it, especially if you are maybe like a little hoarder or something like that. Because one of the things she talks about is giving, your objects a farewell and thanking them for what they've brought into your life. And saying, you know what, you were great for me at this moment, and I am passing you along. Now, I will tell you, I actually did this with a pair of boots many years ago. I love these boots, and they were so cute. I don't know if anybody else loved them, but I loved them. And they just didn't fit me right anymore. And every time I wore them, my feet hurt. And I really felt very sad about giving them away. But I thought, I cannot wear these anymore. Every time I put them on, they're painful. And so I actually had like a little ceremony. And I can remember exactly where I was when I kind of said, you have served me well. I've loved you, boots, but you need to move on. And I did it. And it was sort of like this. I mean, I'm still talking about this moment in my life when I gave away my boots, but I thanked the boots. I honored them. And if you have a bunch of stuff like that, I really want you to think about what can you honor and say, you know what, you have served me well. I have loved this memory, but I am giving it away right now. So I'm going to go step by step through this and talk to you about each thing that you need to really do in order to emotionally and physically get rid of your stuff. As I said, first, you've got to acknowledge those feelings. Make sure you know why you're not giving them away. I want you to start small. I want you just to pick maybe a corner of the room or an area or a cabinet that you can just start small with and feel really, really good about giving away. I want you to create a legacy box. Have you heard of these? You're basically going to take the things that are really important to you, things that you're like, oh, I really can't give that away. And you're going to put it into this legacy box. And you're going to look at that and you're going to keep that. Maybe at some point you might get rid of the stuff in there, but I don't want you to get rid of stuff immediately because you think you have to get rid of everything. Maybe something's really important to you and you do want to keep it. So put it in that legacy box. This one is probably my favorite, which is digitizing your memories. Now, when my parents cleaned out their house and they downsized, they had, it must have been, and I'm not even kidding, like 30 boxes of slide carousels. Okay. So my dad used to shoot slides all the time. It was like growing up, and we used to watch slide shows. That would be like our weekend activity. He'd pull out the screen and we'd set up the slides and we'd watch slides. Sometimes we'd even have friends over to watch our slides. And so my dad had like 30 boxes of these slides, and he had mentally said, I don't need this anymore. And I don't want them anymore. And I was like, you're getting rid of your slides. He's like, I don't look at them anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And I thought, well, then I guess I'll take them. So I took like literally 30 boxes of slides, and they ended up in my basement for like 5 years because I didn't do anything with them. I just put them there. So then when we decided we were going to move, I said, I am tackling these slides, but I didn't know what to do with them. It was daunting. It was a huge project. First, I started by saying, oh, you know what? I'm just going to digitize them myself. But there were literally 3,000 slides. So I couldn't do that. And I finally decided I'm going to digitize these. I'm going to pay for these. And then I'm going to throw the slides away. And I did it. And it was really hard to do. But now what I have is I have whole thousands of pictures that I can look at any time that I want because I have digitized them. So you can do this, not just with slides, but let's you say you have artwork or something that you love. You can take pictures of this so that you can look back on those memories, because that's really what this is about saving those memories for you. It's not about actually physically having that. It's not physically me having those slides. It's me remembering the memories. And if you can digitize things, you can remember all of those memories that you had. And maybe you won't feel so bad about getting rid of the physical item. I've talked about this before. I want you to get 4 boxes, and I want you to do this early, and I want you to have this ongoing. You're going to do a keep, donate, sell, and trash. Okay, 4 boxes. That's all you're going to have. And you are going to put items into those boxes. And you are going to say, I'm going to keep this, or I'm going to donate this one, or I'm going to sell it, or I'm going to trash it. That is it. Okay. That is simple. That is easy. That does not require a lot of time and effort on your part. And it can be done over time. I suggest you do this today. Just do it today. Set up those boxes so that when you're walking by something, you can say, I'm getting rid of this. I'm putting this here. That's all you need to do. Start that one today. I also want you to implement the 1-year rule, which is as easy as it sounds, the 1-year rule. If you haven't touched it, you haven't used it within a year, it really needs to go. Now, I'm the type of person that I always think I'm going to be using something later at some point in my life. So it's very hard for me to do that. Like, oh, well, I don't want to go out and buy that again. You know, if you haven't used it in a year, there's a good chance you're not going to use it in your next life, in your next home. So definitely implement the 1-year rule. So you know how I said no one wants your stuff? It's really pretty true. No one wants your stuff. I want you to think, though, that maybe some people do want some of your valuable stuff. And so you're going to have to seek out some individual appraisers. Keep in mind, most of the sellers that I talk to think the value is much higher than it really is. So I want you to get your expectations in order that you might not get as much for the items that you want, but it is okay to get some appraisals and to see what these expensive things are. Now, how you're going to actually sell this stuff is going to be probably difficult. I think, these online sites, you can do it. It is truly a part-time job to sell your unwanted stuff. It's probably worth something. Everything you're selling is probably worth something, but people who are buying it, they will not pay much for it. I will tell you, if you offer things up for free, people are going to come and they are going to take it. So I want you to think about the stress of selling something versus just giving it away. One of the things I love is my daughter played volleyball for many, many years. She's the artsy, creative one. She's the one who actually crocheted those flowers. I know I get comments about my wilted flowers behind me, but those are actually crocheted flowers, if you can believe it. And I knew what I wanted to do with all of her volleyball shirts was to make her a quilt. Now, this took some time and effort to do, and I, of course, didn't do it, but I did find somebody on Etsy who I was able to ship all of her shirts to, and then she put them into a quilt. And I have to tell you, this was one of the most amazing gifts that I've ever given. And she loved it. And it was just such a reminder of everything. Now, if I had kept all of those shirts in a box, she would never have this memory. She's living with this memory every single day. She's using it. So I want you to think about things that you can do, something like that, that makes it a little more special. And it doesn't make me feel as bad now that I've thrown out another 200 of her shirts. I mean, I did use 50 of them on this quilt. I threw away 200. I mean, it is what it is. But the quilt really was wonderful, and I will never regret doing that. So I know I've talked about the emotional parts of decluttering your home. If you do need the physical parts, I've got a couple options for you. One, you can go and look at my other decluttering video, or you can click the links below. I've got a lot of resources for you below. They are also in my seller's playbook, and I update that frequently. I hope that this video helped you figure out some of your emotional barriers to getting your house decluttered and ready to sell. You guys know I'm always here for you if you ever need me.